In our headlines on this Monday afternoon, March 4th, here in South Korea. The government is taking action against doctors in training who have chosen to stay away from their respective hospitals despite its pleas for their return to ward off a potential medical crisis. Meanwhile, Korea's economic readings for the month of January stand mixed, with industrial output and private spending rising, but facility investment retreating on month. Neighboring China, the country's annual political gathering opens in Beijing, with leaders poised to share plans to navigate the world's second-largest economy amid concerns over its stability. As warned earlier, authorities today are taking legal steps against doctors in training who have chosen to defy last week's deadline to return to work. Our Moon Hye-ryeon starts us off.
From Monday, the South Korean government will be suspending licenses of resident doctors who have yet to return to duty. It ordered these resident doctors to return to work last Thursday and informed them that they would be granted leniency should they return to work by Sunday. However, failure to do so would lead to the government being forced to take administrative and judicial procedures, such as medical license suspensions of between 3 months and a year or official indictments. A meeting of the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters on Monday morning confirmed the government's firm stance.
It is unacceptable that doctors are leaving their patients for whatever reason. The government will be carrying out due punitive action under the law to protect people's lives.
The latest count by the Health Ministry's inspection teams on Thursday show that only 565 resident doctors have come back to work despite these warnings, with 8,945 resident doctors across the country still absent from their posts. The ministry will continue inspections today to confirm these numbers and give doctors an opportunity to defend themselves through statements of opinion. According to the law, administrative agencies must notify parties in advance of legal grounds for punitive action and hear out opinions before imposing restrictions on rights and interests. In the meeting, the health minister also announced the opening of emergency rooms to support emergency patients on Monday in 4 areas of the country. The government further plans to provide financial support for hiring replacement workers and plans to supplement work guidelines. Medical schools across the country have too been ordered to submit their 2025 quota by Monday, with the Ministry of Education maintaining that if universities do not apply for the increase by the deadline, they will be unable to do so at any point later on. Police have also imposed an overseas travel ban on 4 former or current Korean Medical Association executives as investigations into the walkout continue. Moon Hye-ryeon, Arirang News.
Korea's Daegu City has been tapped as the venue for new infrastructure to better support high-tech industries. Partaking in the 16th session of policy briefings on public livelihoods in the city of Daegu, President Yoon Suk-yeol on this Monday pledged to back the city's plans to build a national robot test field, as well as an innovation district and cultural facilities, including a contemporary art museum and a music complex. Also, the government will speed up the construction of a new integrated airport to the year 2030 and build a high-speed railway to boost connectivity. Findings for January show mixed economic readings, with industrial output and private spending rising, but facility investment retreating on month. Our economics correspondent Lee Soo-jin has the latest numbers.
South Korea's overall industrial production and private spending rose during the first month of the year while investments fell. Data from Statistics Korea on Monday shows that industrial production in January inched up 0.4% compared to the previous month. That's the third increase in as many months. The agency attributed the rise mainly to a growth of more than 12% in construction production, which recorded an on-month rise for the first time since September last year. Output in the service sector also edged up 0.1% thanks to a robust demand for ICT services such as software development. Production in the manufacturing industry, however, saw a drop of 1.4% due to a decline in production levels in semiconductors. Chip production in January fell for the first time in 3 months, but this was mostly due to base effects from chip production posting a large growth in November and December, according to Statistics Korea.
The chip sector overall and its exports are all doing well, so the index falling is mostly being seen as being due to base effects from it being so high in November and December last year. The index for January also was not very low, further indicating that this is due to base effects.
Retail sales, a barometer for private spending and consumer demand, saw a rise of 0.8% as people spent more on non-durable goods such as cosmetics and gasoline. But facility investment saw a decline of more than 5% compared to the previous month on the back of a slump in investment in the machinery and transport sectors. The official from the agency added that construction orders, which plunged more than 50% on year, the largest decline seen in more than 13 years, indicates industry outlook uncertainty despite January's robust performance, thus requiring further observation. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, household disposable income rose marginally on-year in 2023. Disposable income rose 1.8% last year. Now, this pales in comparison to food prices, which noted an on-year surge of 6% last year. According to Statistics Korea on this Monday, disposable income amounted to 3.96 million won per month on average, or nearly $3,000. Taking into account high interest rates, this amount is said to be 20% less than the average household monthly income. And amid that reality, consumers here are turning to convenience stores and frozen fruits to ease their grip on purse strings as grocery bills continue to burden households. Our An Sung-jin tells us why.
Consumers in South Korea are adopting a variety of strategies to ensure they spend wisely amid rising consumer prices. According to Statistics Korea, the increase in the price of groceries up to January remained in the 6% range for the fourth consecutive month compared to the year before. As more people look for ways to save on living costs, retail industries have also been catering to demand.
Convenience stores such as this one are following large retail stores and starting to sell own brand products, hoping to appeal to price-conscious consumers.
This convenience store saw its own brand products on top across multiple produce categories. For example, an own brand pack of eggs here is 45% cheaper than other brands and is the most bought as well. And some own brand products are as much as 60% cheaper than other brands.
Since large supermarkets are no longer as cheap, I go to convenience stores that are nearby. If snacks or drinks have the same ingredients, I tend to buy own brand products since they are cheaper.
Data from the Korea Chamber of Commerce noted that South Korea's own brand product industry saw an on-year rise of 11.8% from the fourth quarter of 2022 to the third quarter of 2023.
One way consumers have started saving money is by buying own brand products, which are cheaper but also reliable as they come from well-known retail stores. Own brand products in advanced countries already make up a large portion of grocery items.
Soaring grocery prices are mostly driven by surging fruit prices, which saw a drop in supply due to abnormal weather conditions. Fruit prices soared 26.9% in January, which is the biggest jump since January 2011. As a result, consumers are looking at other ways of getting fruit. According to Korea's Customs Service, frozen fruit imports hit a record high last year. This retail store saw an increase of 119% in 2023 compared to the year before.
I usually buy frozen strawberries or blueberries because they last longer and I can use them in juices. I also buy apples that have scratches at a cheaper price.
Though the government has been making plans to address soaring grocery prices, including reducing tariffs on imported fruit, consumers will continue to find ways to spend wisely while prices remain high. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
And the government has tapped overseas plant exports as one of its 5 major export projects for this year, setting an annual target of $33 billion. Now, this amount is over 9% higher than last year's target of $30 billion. Korea's exports shifted into surplus last September as overseas plant orders hit their highest in 8 years amid the so-called new Middle East boom. The latest export strategy was shared during a recent public-private meeting on export expansion presided over by Trade Minister An Deok-keun. Korea's overall export target goal for this year stands at $700 billion. South Korea and the U.S. kicked off their annual military exercise Freedom Shield today. The exercise seeks to strengthen their combined readiness and defense posture amid escalating North Korean threats. The training is based on scenarios that simulate a range of threats, including cruise missiles. There are a total of 48 joint training drills on land, at sea and in the air this year, double the number of drills last year. The joint military exercise will run for 11 days until March 14th. In other news, neighboring China is hosting its largest annual political event starting today, and the country's economy remains high on the agenda. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
The National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference kicks off on Monday, with the National People's Congress opening on Tuesday, as China begins its largest political event of the year, known as the Two Sessions. This also means that its Congress will begin to gauge the direction of state affairs under President Xi Jinping, who has entered the second year of his third term in office. At the center of attention at this year's Two Sessions will be China's economy and its economic growth target for this year. Amid concerns over deflation and the slumping real estate market, global investment institutions are predicting China's economic growth rate this year to be at the 4% range. However, looking ahead, Beijing has boasted a strong resilience, great potential, and ample vitality, with many predicting that China will propose a growth target of 5%. There will also be focus on who Beijing will name as their next top diplomat. According to analysts, the current head of the Chinese Communist Party's International Liaison Department, Liu Jinchao, is being considered as the person to replace Wang Yi as foreign minister. Pundits say with the U.S. presidential election coming up in November and no telling who will be sitting in the Oval Office, China is playing it cautious, as Liu is considered to have a moderate view on the U.S. Attention will also be on what kind of message will be communicated on the Taiwan issue, and whether this year's Two Sessions will allow for a tighter grip on power for President Xi. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, over in Spain, Korean companies big and small sought a greater platform at this year's Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, which came to a close last week. Our Ione covers their efforts.
The overarching theme during the 4-day event was Future First, embodying 6 sub-themes such as 5G and AI, and extended beyond the mobile industry to digital transformation overall. This year's AI scene shaped up to be a little different from last year.
Or applications around 5G, AI and platforms, and how these 3 things can work together to provide a service or a solution to you as a consumer or to you as a businesses that is different from what it was before.
South Korea's turnout for MWC 2024 was its largest yet, with many startups and SMEs participating. The Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency opened a joint booth with the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy for small domestic startups, SMEs, and related organizations.
8 public institutions joined forces with the government to support Korean companies as one, so 118 startups and SMEs are promoting at MWC under the same brand, Korea.
AI was a running theme for many Korean firms at the joint booth, and domestic startup Hyodol, offering AI companionship for the elderly, was awarded the 2024 Global Mobile Awards in the Best Mobile Innovation for Connected Health and Well-being category. The country's biggest tech firms also brought their A-game, with Samsung Electronics unveiling its latest line of wearable tech, the Galaxy Ring, which tracks health data in your sleep. Telecommunications companies KT and SK Telecom set up AI-related booths and demonstrated a wide range of services. KT showed its intelligent urban air mobility traffic management system that assists in the safe operation of urban air mobility vehicles. UATM digitally replicates real-world UAM operations by integrating digital twin technology and AI that enhances safety based on numerous data analysis and simulations. As for SK Telecom, it showcased its telco-specific large language model that's used in various services such as its virtual chatbot assistant. And in true MWC spirit, South Korea was also one of 10 countries alongside the United States, Australia and Japan that signed the joint statement outlining principles for the research and development of 6th-generation wireless communication systems. Lee Eun-hee, Arirang News.
On the entertainment front, K-pop girl group TWICE and its latest album With Youth topped the Billboard 200 this past Sunday, giving the group its first #1 on the main US album chart. The group's 13th mini-album sold 95,000 equivalent album units in the week ending February 29th, mainly from traditional album sales. Now, TWICE joins 7 other K-pop groups who have topped the Billboard 200 chart and becomes the 3rd K-pop girl group to accomplish this feat. The Billboard main album chart ranks the most popular albums of the week in the US based on album sales, track equivalent albums, and streaming equivalent albums. Studies show gardening among the elderly may keep dementia and depression at bay. Our Eun-jin has details.
The elderly people who come to this garden have mild dementia or cognitive impairment. They do a quick warm-up and begin gardening activities like weeding and pruning. There's also time to have lunch together next to the garden, where eating some of the vegetables they grew themselves adds to the flavor.
We were all strangers, but it was nice to meet everyone here.
These elderly people are able to leave their houses and have somewhere to go. After enjoying gardening activities for the day, 9 out of the 51 participants had the rate of blood flow to the brain measured. Before gardening, a lot of blue can be seen in the frontal lobe area. During the gardening activity, the same area turns yellow, while it turns red afterward. This shows an increase in blood flow of roughly 8.7%, which correlates with enhanced cognitive function. The simple activity of gardening not only helps participants increase physical activity, but adds joy to their lives to reduce depression, as well as boost their cognitive skills.
The doctor prescribed medication because I had symptoms of depression, but now I don't take the medicine.
Many of them ask if there are more opportunities and say it made them very happy.
More detailed scientific data is being revealed to support the positive therapeutic effects that gardening brings to people beyond being just a hobby. Lee Eun-jin, Arirang News.
And researchers here have developed a catalyst that allows for a more affordable and sustainable production of great amounts of hydrogen from plastic bottles. Our Chong Eun-ju covers this development and its broader implications.
This is a solution where fragments of PET bottles are dissolved in a strong alkali. When exposed to light with a wavelength similar to that of the sun, gas bubbles are generated. These gas bubbles are hydrogen. After 40 hours, 98% of the plastic is decomposed and converted entirely into either carbon dioxide or hydrogen. The amount of hydrogen produced per 100 grams of plastic is approximately 58 liters. Even just 1 gram of the catalyst developed by South Korean researchers can generate 3.7 liters of hydrogen per hour. This performance is more than 10 times superior to previously reported ones.
Catalysts that decompose a raw material of plastic have been developed. In this study, even stable molecules containing benzene rings can be completely decomposed.
The significant increase in catalytic efficiency is due to the uniform distribution of platinum, the core material of the catalyst, on the supporting material. The supporting material, titanium dioxide, was exposed to sunlight to create many holes in the surface. When platinum was inserted into each hole and bonded, almost all platinum atoms participated in the catalytic reaction, maximizing reaction efficiency.
With only sunlight and no additional energy, we can create uniform bonding sites on the commercially supported catalyst and allow metals to bond in the optimal state.
The research team expects the cost of the catalyst to be low because only a small amount of platinum is needed, maximizing its efficiency. Chong Eun-ju, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. We're seeing a sharp rise in malnutrition in the Gaza Strip. According to the Gaza Health Ministry on Sunday, at least 15 children have died as a result of dehydration and malnutrition at a hospital in the northern Gaza Strip. The United Nations Children's Fund had warned last month of the serious threat posed to the health of children and pregnant women caused by the rise in malnutrition. UNICEF fears more children will die unless the war ends and barriers to humanitarian relief are immediately resolved. According to UNICEF's regional director for the Middle East and North Africa, inadequate access and multiple dangers hinder UN humanitarian operations, leading to a widespread deficiency in nutritious food, safe water, and medical services. In the United States, severe blizzard conditions hit Northern California and Nevada over the weekend. The Sierra Nevada mountain range is still under blizzard warnings, and hundreds of miles of highways in California have been shut down. Ski resorts in the region have been closed, and over 15,000 people in both states have been left without power. Heavy snow forecast to reach up to 360 centimeters was made even worse by winds of up to 305 kilometers an hour. The Sierra Nevadas are expected to receive an additional 60 to 150 centimeters of snow at elevations of 1,200 meters or higher on Monday and Tuesday. Authorities are advising residents to stay safe and be cautious while traveling. In Haiti, the Western Hemisphere's poorest nation continues to be stricken by gang violence, which has been ongoing for more than 2 years. On Saturday, hundreds of inmates escaped the main prison in the capital Port-au-Prince after armed gangs stormed the facility, leaving at least 5 people dead. The total number of prisoners who fled the prison is still unknown. The attack comes as Haiti's prime minister visited Kenya to finalize an agreement which would see the African nation send 1,000 police officers to Haiti to assist in restoring order. France is preparing to become the first country in the world to put the right to abortion in its constitution. Parliamentarians from the upper and lower chambers will meet on Monday on a special congress convened by French President Emmanuel Macron for a final vote on the abortion revision. If the proposition gains a 3/5 majority in the special congress, France will become the world's first nation to constitutionalize the right to abortion. The text adopted by the Senate seeks to inscribe in Article 34 of the French Constitution that the law determines the conditions in which a woman has the guaranteed freedom to have recourse to an abortion. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. After a winter-like weekend, temperatures eased yesterday afternoon with a thick layer of ultrafine dust. Most parts of Korea are still covered with dusty air, with an ultrafine dust advisory issued in Gyeonggi-do and Chungcheong, Namdo province. A good quality face mask is a must today. Meanwhile, rain is in the forecast on Jeju from this afternoon, spreading to southern regions tonight. Then it will rain nationwide tomorrow. Further south will receive heavier showers, while mountainous regions in Gangwon-do could see snow instead of rain. And tomorrow's precipitation will clear the dust in the air. So that means we'll be trapped in dusty air all day today under partly cloudy skies. After a sub-zero start in central regions, highs are going a couple of degrees higher than seasonal norms. Seoul topping out at 11 degrees, Daejeon at 13 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Temperatures will stay slightly higher than norms this week, with more wet conditions in store midweek. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
And those are the headlines at this hour here in Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session. So do stay with us.